Thank you. Please remain standing whilst my chaplain, Reverend Canon John Hall, says prayers.
O God, who dost gather thy children together that they may prepare a city for habitation and dwell together in unity, we pray for all who bear authority in our cities, our towns and parishes, the local government officers, and all who give their time and energy in caring for the common good. Grant them to plan and work for thy glory and the delight of humankind, and continue to raise up, we beseech thee, men and women who offer service to the community as a vocation from thee, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. O eternal Lord God, from whom alone cometh wisdom and understanding, we beseech thee to direct aright the minds of those who are about to take counsel together on matters pertaining to the common life of this borough, that in all their deliberations and decisions they may faithfully discharge the duties of their office and ever promote the health, the safety, and the well-being of those whom they seek to serve, for the honour and glory of thy holy name. Amen.
Thank you. Please sit down. Before we start, I need to remind you of the usual housekeeping messages. There are no fire alarm tests planned for this evening, so if the alarm sounds, please leave the chamber by the nearest door, then follow the illuminated fire exit signs and assemble in the car park at the rear of the building. Also, would you please ensure that your phones are on silent mode. The first item for this evening is apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have so far been received from councillors Balmain, I. Duffy, R. Duffy, Jones, Mackay, Lees, Rayner, Wilson and Shewan, and B. Stevenson and E. Stevenson. Are there any other apologies?
Did you say both Stevensons then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, B and E.
Yes.
The next item is confirmation of the minutes of the last ordinary meeting. Can I please have a proposal that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 17th of January 2019 be approved as a correct record?
Happy to propose those, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that proposal?
Happy to second, Madam Mayor.
Does anyone want to comment on the factual accuracy of the minutes or propose an amendment? Would those members present at the meeting on the 17th of January who are in favour of confirming the minutes as a correct record, please indicate.
Okay,
Those against?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Any abstentions? The minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of January are confirmed. The next item on the agenda is declarations of interest. As this is the budget meeting, I need to remind you that on the 6th of September 2012, the Council passed a resolution granting a discretion under Section 33 of the Localism Act 2011, enabling all councillors to speak and vote on issues relating to the setting of the council tax, unless any member is disqualified from voting under the provisions of Section 106 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992. because they are 2 or more payments in arrears with their council tax. Councillors do not therefore need to individually declare an interest in the agenda item 11 just because they are council tax payers. On that basis, do any members or officers have any interest to declare on any items included on the agenda for this meeting? None. The next item is announcements. Firstly, it is the mayoral ball tomorrow night, and I understand that many of you were already committed to an association dinner, which was disappointing, but I do understand. However, although unable to attend, I know many of you will still wish to support the mayoral charities. To this end, there's an envelope in front of you. It's £5 to enter. If you wish to enter the draw, just seal your entry in the envelope and put your name on the front, and they will be entered in the draw for a 40-inch smart television and also a Ring CCTV doorbell. Next, I would like to give grateful thanks to Regenda for their recent support of the mayoral charities by allowing us to run the raffle at the recent premiere of the Fleetwood Voice. The performance was brilliant and very well attended, and the raffle raised a fantastic £471 for my charities. We will be holding a concert by the Blackpool Male Voice Choir at St Peter and St David's Church, Lord Street, Fleetwood, on Thursday evening, the 14th of March. Tickets are just £8 each and available from Andrew Mullen. This promises to be a very entertaining evening and all will be welcome. Lastly, I have received an update from Councillor Ruth Duffy, which Roy has kindly printed and distributed to you all. As you will read, Ruth is continuing her complex treatment, and hopefully we will see her at our April Full Council meeting. I'm sure you'll all want to join me in wishing her well for a speedy recovery. Oh no, I've got it. Oh, do you want to read it then? I am sorry, I've got it on my sheet, so I thought you all had it in front of you. So, yeah, thank you. Okay, this is, sorry about that, I misunderstand. It's on the end of mine, you see, so I thought, oh, smashing, everybody's got it. Right. Councillor Ruth Duffy has sent and asked me to read it out to you, but it was quite long, so I asked if Roy could print it and, it would save time. But anyway, I'll read it to you now that I've mentioned it. I'm sorry about that. Ruth says, I'm recovering well from my operation after a very painful first few initial weeks. I start chemotherapy next Tuesday. Each cycle consists of IV chemo infusion at Blackpool Victoria Hospital, followed by 2 weeks of chemo treatment at home. 3rd week off, then the cycle starts again. I've had to cancel June's holiday as the side effects and risk of infection would have been too great to interrupt the treatment and go away. I should be okay for August holiday. If I'm not too unwell due to the chemo, I'm going to try to make the last meeting in April. Once again, can I thank everyone who has been in touch offering support. I do appreciate it. Ruth. If there are no other announcements, we will move on to the next item, which is public questions and statements. However, there are no questions from members of the public this evening. The next item is questions on notice from councillors. Again, there are no questions this evening. So the next item is a report on the council's pay policy statement for 2019-20. Councillor Henderson, would you please introduce the report and propose the recommendation?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report is as it is before all the members. The Localism Act 2011 requires us to prepare these reports, so a pay policy statement must be prepared for each financial year and must be approved by the full council. Take any questions or comments, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that proposal? Are there any comments, questions or amendments? Councillor Fail.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With concerns about the low apprentice rates documented on page 16 of the report, I've had discussions with officers. From those discussions, it appears we currently have 8 apprentices that these low rates of pay are not currently employed. They are all on a rate above the national living wage. However, it appears that it is still an option to pay the low rates documented on page 16. Should apprentice rates of pay be applied for future post holders, I am reassured to hear the job evaluation panel will include union representation and would have a say in a decision to apply these rates. It's difficult to understand how someone could support themselves on such low rates, and then there is an issue of retention once staff are trained. It could become false economy to pay such a low rate. With concerns over the low rate and the impact on retention, it would benefit members if future pay policy statements included details of the number of staff placed on these low rates. In that way, it is both open and transparent, and it would provide councillors with the ability to challenge and obtain justification. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? No. Councillor Henderson, as the proposer of the motion, would you please respond to the debate?
Certainly, Madam Chairman. As an apprentice myself many years ago, I remember exactly how much I was paid at first, and it was a derisory amount. And I also remember way back in the 60s when I questioned about how little I was being paid. It was, you're lucky to have a job, lad, shut up, we're here to teach you, and just get on with it. One day you might earn some real money. That's how it used to be. I've never been a lover of the minimum wage, because that's what people do, they put them on minimum wage. Here at Wyre Council we don't. So your comments are noted, Councillor Fail.
Would members please now vote on the recommendation that the pay policy statement for 2019-20 be approved? Those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. The recommendation is approved. The next item is the business plan 2019 to 2023. Councillor Henderson, would you please introduce the report and propose the recommendation?
Yes, certainly. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Each year the Council produces a business plan. This year we have updated it, upgraded it. As you will see, we've changed the layout of it. It includes more information. It's been before the ONS, and comments were made by the ONS committee, which were noted, and amendments were therefore made to the plan. So I recommend the plan to the members, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for that proposal? Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Are there any comments, questions or amendments? Councillor Fail.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm pleased to see that some of the comments made at January's overview and scrutiny have been taken on board, including the need for climate change to be taken seriously and featured in the plan. Given the stark warning about our future, climate change should, if it isn't already, be fully considered in just about everything this council does. Wyre needs to play its role in achieving, or preferably exceeding, targets to reduce emissions of greenhouse gases by 45%. In 2030, we cannot afford to have missed that target. However, there are gaps in this plan. With obvious links to health and well-being, it's crucial that this council starts to actively monitor its volume of public open space and tackle shortages where they exist. The council cannot allow the situation that has arisen in Cllr to arise in other towns. With a shortage of both formal and informal open space in Cllr, it is a statistic that was allowed to happen due to decades of negligence by this council. It just isn't being managed. So sooner or later, whether in this plan or elsewhere, that needs to happen. Another major issue is the employment situation in Wyre and the resulting problems of commuting and congestion. It would be really helpful to decision making if we had up-to-date information on whether residents work in or outside the borough. Although this information is collected via the 10-yearly census, we really need more frequent updates. What I would request is that the biennial survey that the council undertakes contains a question as to whether or not a resident works in Wyre, and if not, the town where they do work. With this information collected, the daily commute in Wyre can then be extrapolated. The council needs to have an accurate understanding of the current position so that it can be monitored and action taken to tackle the increasing commute situation. So although not on the business plan currently, a first step would be to regularly collect employment in Wyre data. If the leader could provide verbal assurance to this request, then I'm hopeful that Labour colleagues will support the plan. Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Councillor Henderson, as the proposer of the motion, would you please respond to the debate?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. These points, I know some points were brought up at ONS, but all these points could have been brought up at the ONS when this was presented to the ONS then. Regarding employment, that could be looked at. It shouldn't be looked at through here as such. I would have thought that that would have been looked at through the Wyre plan. As for people leaving the borough to go and work in other parts of the area, that has gone on for absolutely ages and ages, and what we need to do, what we strive to do, is to bring businesses into the borough so that they can employ local people. But your comments are noted. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, can I just clarify whether that has been accepted, or are we going to be collecting data on whether people are employed in Wyre so that we can actually inform decision making in the future?
We'll find a way of doing it.
Okay.
That's got to be a simple answer, unless of course you want us to go along to every single employer and ask them how many people they employ, how many they expect to employ, how many people they may have laid off.
No, we need to extrapolate the information, that's what I said. Thank you.
But if I could also add a question, we need to find out how many people travel into the borough as well, otherwise the information on its own is pretty irrelevant. We need to know who moves in and who moves out, because in terms of traffic flow, that's just as important.
I also take that comment as well, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Gibson?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we also need to know how many councillors there are who don't actually live in the borough, who come into the borough in terms of their work, as they call it.
Thank you.
Yeah, perhaps we also need to know how many councillors have businesses in the borough and create employment within it, Madam Mayor. That would be equally useful, wouldn't it?
Okay, thank you. That concludes the debate. Would members please now vote on a recommendation that the business plan 2019 to 2023 be approved? Those in favour, please show. That's unanimous. The recommendation is approved. The next item is the council tax for 2019/20. As usual, at the budget meeting, we need first to deal with two procedural issues. Firstly, I intend, in line with normal convention and in accordance with my discretion under Procedure Rule 16.4, to allow the Leader of the Council, when proposing the budget and council tax, and the Leader of the main opposition group, when commenting on or proposing any amendment to it, to speak without being restricted by a time limit. All other speakers in the debate will, as usual, be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes each. Secondly, I also propose that Procedure Rule 16.6b be suspended to allow a single debate to be held on the budget, including any amendments proposed to it. Would you please indicate whether or not you agree to the suspension of 16.6b to enable us to have a single debate on this item? Those for? Again, that's unanimous, thank you. We will now start the debate. Councillor Henderson, would you please introduce your report and formally propose the budget recommendations of the Cabinet on the formal council tax resolutions as recommended on pages 23 and 24 of the agenda? You have unlimited time to do so.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I should like to present the Conservative budget proposals for 2019-2020. Council tax. The government announced 2 years ago that they would allow districts to increase council tax by up to 3%, or £5 a year on a bandy equivalent property, if that is greater than 3% without triggering a referendum. Their spending power calculation for 2019-20 assumes that districts will increase their council tax by the suggested 3%. We have decided to follow the government's lead to maximise our spending power whilst keeping costs low for residents and continue providing Wyre's vital frontline services. This equates to a rise of £5.80 a year on a bandy property, or just over 11 pence a week, and means the overall cost for all Wyre services will be 55 pence per day. Remember that figure, 55 pence a day. For this, we manage a range of services, including street cleansing, waste and recycling, parks and open spaces, licensing, housing support, planning and building control, environmental health and leisure and tourism. What can we expect in the future? 2019-20 is the final year of the multi-year settlement deal, so beyond this, our funding position is uncertain. The government are conducting a spending review in 2019, as well as consulting on a fair funding review and business rates retention reform. By the end of the year, the position should be much clearer, and central government have committed to providing provisional funding allocations by the beginning of December. So how have we compensated for a reduction in funding? We've prepared for it over the years by reducing spending, not increasing the level of borrowing, and balancing the books through efficiency savings and prudent financial management. We also have an excellent track record on efficiency savings, which has protected residents from the full impact of reductions in funding. We've saved over 5.9 million between 2010-11 and 2017-18. That's an average of £737,000 a year, and we predict future savings will take us over the £6 million mark. Wyre has never shied away from challenging how we deliver services or making difficult decisions, and will continue to do so. This means continually reviewing how we operate and whether services meet the needs of our community. So what does the budget mean for the residents? We've been steadfast in protecting and improving council services so residents consistently receive high standards of delivery. Our latest Wyre Life in Wyre survey results show that 80% of our residents are satisfied or very satisfied with where they live. The waste and recycling service was again successfully shortlisted in the best performer category in the Association of Public Service Excellence Awards. Also, we shall be replacing the dry recyclate boxes with wheelie bins to approximately 45,000 households at a cost of £825,000 that we shall pay for out of our reserves. Public toilets provided in Wyre continue to be of a high standard, and the authority was placed in the top 5 of the National Loo of the Year Awards and are now considered in the Premier League for public conveniences. You've got to keep putting that one in. Holton's Vicarage Park Hawthorne Park and Wyre Estuary Country Park in Thornton and Fleetwood's Memorial Park have all received Green Flag Awards for another year. Ferry Beach and Marine Beach in Fleetwood, Rossall Beach and Jubilee Beach in Cleveland have all been awarded Seaside Awards for another year. Poulton New Cemetery was awarded a gold in the medium cemetery category at the Cemetery of the Year Awards. Investing in Wyre. Wyre is extremely successful in securing funding from external sources, such as the Environment Agency and the Heritage Lottery, which allows us to keep investing in the borough. In 2019-20, 50% of our capital spending will be financed by external grants and contributions. And a couple of examples to date include 1.8 million to deliver disabled facilities grants, providing adaptations to enable people with disabilities to live at home more independently. A further 1.1 million for the restoration of the Mount Fleetwood. The Mount in Fleetwood is currently undergoing a revival. Following the successful restoration of the seaward side of the Grade 2 registered gardens to their original 19th century design, a further bid to the Heritage Lottery Fund to transform the landward side has also been successful, and the scheme includes the iconic pavilion, rose garden and gate lodge, and is expected to be completed by September 2020. King George's playing field in Thornton will receive a £66,000 investment to construct the first phase of a trail with play and outdoor gym equipment. We're also generating income by making best use of our assets, including sharing office accommodation here with our partners, the police and Lockwood Surgery at the Civic Centre. We're operating our venues in a more business-orientated way, maximising opportunities to generate revenue and constantly looking for new ways to earn income. We're utilising our venues for weddings and hosted our first ever wedding open day on the 17th of February to launch our new wedding events packages at the Marine Hall, the Mount, Thornton Little Theatre and at the Civic Centre. At the same time, we've ensured that all our fees and charges remain low for the community use. We've launched an online shop so Fleetwood market traders can maximise selling their goods, and we've achieved 2 awards for the market during the year. Lancashire Retail Experience of the Year at the Lancashire Tourism Awards and North of England Best of Britain Business Award 2018. Wyre's growing economy. Business creation and expansion is a priority at Wyre, and we have an excellent track record in supporting businesses through our Wired Up network. The aim is to bring businesses together to buy from each other, and as their businesses grow, they then employ more people locally in the economy who spend their wages locally. The 5th annual Wyre Business Awards event was held in November at the Marine Hall. The celebration event was attended by over 280 business people from across Wyre, and as I was there with young Michael and the Chief Exec, it was an absolutely superb success. We continue to work with our partners to develop the implementation plan for the Hill House Technology Enterprise Zone in Thornton. The site will benefit from investment worth millions and government support to expand, creating jobs in the area and attracting greater awareness of the wider borough's potential for growth. Wyre's local plan has been through the planning inspectorate process and was approved by council. We will continue to support the rollout of full fibre broadband along the tram line into Fleetwood. Wyre will be participating in the Lancashire 75% business rates retention pool pilot in 2019-20, which includes all local authorities except for Lancaster City Council and the Fire Authority. Through this initiative, Wyre will be able to retain more business rates growth in the borough, which is forecast at £400,000, with the added benefit of additional growth to be retained across Lancashire and that's forecast at £10 million. Protecting our vulnerable residents. We have committed for the 6th year running to protect our most vulnerable residents by limiting the contribution to the localised council tax support scheme for those previously on full benefit to 8.5%, which is significantly lower than neighbouring local authorities. The Citizens Advice Bureau will continue to receive funding from Wyre at the same level to support their free debt advice service, which helps those affected by welfare reforms, and a care and repair service which offers free advice and support to both the over 60s and disabled people. We are partners in the Healthier Fleetwood project, helping to reduce social isolation, raise aspirations and improve the health outcome for local residents. This important initiative brings together a wide range of stakeholders, including those from the NHS and other local authorities, housing associations, local sports organisations and community groups within Wyre, taking an active role to progress and promote the scheme. So how does the future look? With an excellent track record in identifying efficiency savings and doing more for less, Wyre is in a strong financial position, and we're planning ahead for continued reductions in funding for over the coming years. Residents will continue to benefit from investment thanks to an approach of investing now to save money in the future, and our track record of bringing in external funding. This will be further supported by the recent creation of the Property Investment Fund pilot, which will look at opportunities for us to invest in and grow our local economy, whilst achieving a positive financial return on our investment. As we ensure that we make best possible use of our assets, taxpayers can be certain of value for money and be reassured that we will negotiate improved community facilities where alternative options are required. We will continue to generate investment and encourage development in the borough by providing a supportive business environment and making Wyre an attractive place to live and work. Communities remain at the heart of everything we do, and we will continue to find new ways of working, improving our services and providing excellent value for money. We look forward to establishing our local lottery in 2019, which will help to support community groups and other organisations in their fundraising endeavours, as well as provide a general good cause fund for worthy projects in the borough. So where does all the money we collect go? The council tax, of course, is made up of a number of payments to the authorities that provide services within the area. Us, Wyre, Lancashire County Council, the Police and Fire Commissioner, the Combined Fire Authority, parish and town councils. Wyre Council, we're the billing authority and we collect the council tax on behalf of all these agencies. However, Wyre's portion represents only 11% of all that, or £199.74 payable to Wyre on a Band D property. That is the total amount of the bill to us that lands through people's letterboxes. Our vision is to make Wyre a healthy and happy place where people want to live, work, invest and visit. Wyre is in a strong position financially. We have a proven track record of bringing in external funding, and we will continue to invest now to save money in the future, which will ensure our vision becomes a reality. Madam Mayor, I should like to give thanks to the finance team, the senior officers and all the staff at Wyre who have helped Wyre to continue as it is for the past year, and they have already started looking at efficiencies for the forthcoming year. Madam Mayor, this budget keeps Wyre in its rightful place as a top performing council, and I commend this budget and its recommendations at points 3.1 to 3.4 to its members. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to second that. We can also second the applause that has been generated by the leader towards Claire and the financial team. We've been blessed in this borough for many years now in having a very highly competent team, well recognised throughout the world of public finance, and we certainly have that right now. So thanks to them for all the hard work that they've done this year and the year before and every other year before them and their predecessors. Thank you. I'd like to reserve the right to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Councillor Fayle, you now have the opportunity to comment on the budget and, if you wish, to propose any amendments to it. You have an unlimited time to do so.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's not that long ago that George Osborne laughingly claimed we are all in this together. Well, it might be not that long ago to some of us, but I bet it feels like an eternity to those affected by the wicked austerity policies. And for the benefit of the younger councillors, when I say wicked, I'm not suggesting that's great or cool. Whilst Bullingdon boys Gideon and his mate Dodgy Dave never even dipped their toes in, millions in this country were in it up to their necks, and they still are. Austerity has been a scam by the greedy, self-appointed 1% elite, ensuring their wealth increases at the expense of ordinary folk. A measure of the success, or otherwise, of any government should be the gap between the poorest and the richest in our society. On that basis alone, this government has been an absolute disaster for this nation, with the gap widening. The rich have got richer and the poor have got poorer. Despite being the 5th richest economy in the world, austerity... Despite being the 5th richest economy in the world, austerity will go down in history as a heartless, Conservative-made disaster. As a direct result of Tory policies, we have 14 million people in this country living in poverty, millions using food banks, a rising number of homeless, with hundreds dying on the street, and reductions in life expectancy. Associated with austerity is the government's flagship universal credit policy. Well, that's been a rip-roaring success, hasn't it? Despite the Prime Minister claiming that it is a system that is working, it's not working for the families waiting 6 weeks or more for cash. It's not working for those people left £400 a month worse off. It's not working for those families already suffering because of debt, and it's certainly not working for those who have been evicted or at risk of eviction. The architect of this shambles certainly must have been, as he is often referred to, in deep sleep. This is what the I'm all right Jack philosophy leads to, and it's a path I wouldn't wish on anyone. Well, I've got some good news. Conservative austerity is over. Well, that's what the Prime Minister told the nation recently in any case. The lie was quickly exposed in February when Tory MPs voted to reduce funding to councils by another £1.3 billion. I love the way irony is lost on Paul Maynard. He continues to vote for austerity, freezing of benefits, reductions to local government funding, and plenty more besides. Then you see him protesting about the police station shutting, the library shutting, or parking meters being introduced to replace the revenue he voted to cut. Can one of you please explain to him how this works? It might save us all a lot of misery. With all these terrible things going on in this country, you would think the government would be trying to resolve the mess they've got themselves into. But there is no chance of that. The government is too busy negotiating an absolutely terrible Brexit deal for Britain. Whichever way you voted, it's a shocker. I say negotiating, but the reality is that May tootles back and forth to Brussels as though if she asks the same question over and over, somehow they'll give her a different answer. With that poker face, you just can't understand how things became such a shambles. So with a combination of...
Is this about Wyre, or is it about the country in general? This is supposed to be about Wyre's budget. Not to raise socialism to people who don't want to listen to it.
Well, Councillor Vincent may not want to listen, but I shall continue anyway. As is my right, yes indeed. So with a combination of continuing austerity and a government that couldn't organise a Brexit in a brewery, councils across the country are having to implement even more cuts. Local governments continue to feel the brunt of Tory austerity. Since 2010, on average, there have been cuts of 60p in the pound to local government funding. Without proper funding, where to make resulting cuts becomes a challenge, and with competing private priorities and many difficult choices. Recent LCC Conservative budget proposals to cut another £77 million from services will only succeed in damaging services that are already at or close to breaking point. Those proposals affecting health and social care include sending one carer to a home visit, even if the level of care requires two, ending break time respite care for parents of children with special needs or who are disabled, increasing day centre charges by 15%. We can at least be thankful that the Tory Council abandoned their idea to turn off the streetlights in the middle of the night. Although they realised that was a dim idea, the equally dim idea to place parking meters in the centre of Cllr is still on the cards. And I should add, like the health and social care cuts, voted for by Wyre Tory councillors who are also county councillors. We should at least feel safe in our homes, but with cuts to Lancashire Police since 2010 of £84 million and the loss of 800 officers, this is becoming less true. To every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Cuts of consequences, and in this case, as reported in the 2017-18 Authorities Monitoring Report, Wyre suffered a 20% increase in crime last year. Violence against the person, up 31%. Sexual offences, up 34%. Robbery, up 14%. And vehicle offences, a massive increase of 77%. In recent weeks in Cleveland, we've seen antisocial behaviour, graffiti, criminal damage to property, all caused by a small number of young people. Apparently, Paul Maynard is concerned by a small number of young people. And rightly so, but he is one of the Tory MPs who voted for police cuts. The duplicity is breathtaking. There is no single answer to the recent problems, but close the police station, remove the officers from the beat, and there is nothing to stop. There is nothing to stop them. According to the Gazette, Councillor Kay wants the Crime Commissioner to put more resources into this recent problem. Well, I contacted the local police and was pleased to hear that they are already doing that. But Councillor Kay should also realise that if the police are here, they aren't dealing with other important issues elsewhere. They have been cut to the bone by this Tory government and they are spreading themselves too thinly. You can't approve of cuts and then criticise the Crime Commissioner for the lack of resources. It's pathetic and it's hypocritical. Not only do the cuts need to stop, they need to be reversed so that we can have a deterrent on the streets. Yeah, parents need to instil in their children right from wrong, but youngsters must have something to do. The destruction of Jubilee Gardens in Cleveland has been a massive issue for the town for over a decade. Although there are plans to return this to being an actual park, in the meantime, there simply isn't enough for kids to do. Now maybe part of the answer to this and other problems across the borough is to use the New Homes Bonus. New Homes Bonus was introduced to provide an incentive to local authorities to encourage housing growth, and councils and communities were meant to work together to decide how to spend the extra funding. Yet what seems to have happened is that this housing grab is being used to disguise government cuts. Apparently, according to the online survey on this budget, since 2010-11, the council has lost nearly 79% of its core central government funding. Some of this has been compensated for by New Homes Bonus grant, but even when this is included, the loss of funding is still high at just over 42%. So it seems to me that in recent years, this bribe is not even being used to benefit the borough. It's being used to plug a hole and provide what we previously had. So in effect, the houses go up, but the New Homes Bonus is not providing the benefit it was meant to. For the west of the borough, This is a disastrous policy. Already with a high density of population, the green fields are being destroyed, the acknowledged shortfall of open space is not remedied, the transport system just gets worse and worse, and other infrastructure is not up to scratch. It really is a shambolic state of affairs. Okay, on to this budget. Last year, we put forward a couple of amendments that would have helped with antisocial behaviour and criminal. Last year, we put forward a couple of amendments that would have helped with the antisocial behaviour and criminal damage witnessed recently. And although we would still like to proceed with these ideas and a number of others, we will not be presenting those budget amendments tonight, but will instead take these forward after Labour becomes the controlling group on the 3rd of May.
More than 4 of you, I suppose.
With regard to the council tax rise, whilst many wage rises are significantly less than 3%, proposing such a council tax increase will be especially hard on those who have least. With on average 60p in the pound loss from local government funding across the country, the end result was always going to be council tax increase. And that's what we are seeing due to Tory austerity. But members should be well aware that this is an unfair taxation system. The Institute of Fiscal Studies described council tax as being deliberately regressive in its design, and it really is difficult to argue against that claim. There is a case for council tax to rise in line with the Consumer Price Index, now just under 2%. But that would have resulted in a not insignificant impact on balances. One option would be to reduce the allowances of cabinet and committee chairs due to the reduced number of meetings. If you do less, you should get paid less.
I do more.
And although on a pro rata basis that could save over £9,000 a year, that alone wouldn't be enough to fund the council tax rise in line with CPI. There is a further option. How about a council allowance deduction based on the distance a council lives outside of Wyre? There appears to be some mileage in that idea, but that would spell bad news for a number of Conservative councillors, and for Councillor Greenough, well, he would have to be paying the council fee to remain a councillor. Anyway, perhaps we should look at that on May the 3rd. But there is one issue that does need addressing now, and I hope all members will support this. Last week, this council adopted a local plan that proposes the building of around 9,000 houses, half of which will be in the urban west of the borough. With a large increase in population, and most of this emanating from a migration into Wyre, the road system, which is already at breaking point, will be even more congested. The borough must not turn a blind eye to this. It needs to answer it with a strategic response by backing the reinstated rail line, encouraging new employers to the area and reducing congestion on our roads. A reinstated rail line has the ability to boost our economy and provide better connectivity for residents, workers and visitors to get around the Fylde coast. And before anybody uses the slopey shoulder excuse we heard at the local Plan Full Council meeting that LCC are the Transport Authority, let me tell members that when a resident has a problem, they don't care whether it's Wyre or LCC who is ultimately responsible. They just want the problem fixed. They just don't distinguish. And why should they? In this instance, there is a strategic problem and someone needs to take ownership of that problem. Wyre needs to grasp the nettle before things get any worse. Poulton and Wyre Rail Society, and more recently Fleetwood Back on Track, have done some tremendous work trying to get the line reopened. Fleetwood Back on Track are now wanting a feasibility study to look into all possible options. Wyre and LCC need to be backing this, and actually taking control of their own destiny, so that it provides the infrastructure required to support the massive house building now approved by this council. We therefore request an amendment to this budget. It is fairly straightforward. A revenue contribution of up to £35,000 towards the rail reinstatement feasibility study, funded from general balances. So to repeat, the Labour Group proposes an amendment for a revenue contribution of up to £35,000 towards the rail reinstatement feasibility study, funded from general balances. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Is there a seconder for the amendment proposed by Councillor Fail?
I'll second that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Atherton. Are there any other amendments? Please be aware that, as we have agreed to have a single debate on the budget and the setting of the council tax, if you wish to propose an amendment, this is your last opportunity to do so. Would any members who wish to speak either on any amendment proposed or the budget and council tax recommendations proposed by the Leader of the Council, please indicate. You will have up to 5 minutes each. Councillor Michael Vincent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I take the sentiment that's face value from Councillor Fail, but I couldn't possibly support spending £35,000 without someone saying to me first, what are we getting for £35,000? Are LCC going to match it? And when it's mentioned LCC not being responsible for the railway, it says quite a lot about his understanding of the railway. Yes, you did. It was agreed to speak about yourself. That's exactly what you're saying. You can listen to it as well, thanks to our brilliant new minutes. It's obviously Network Rail who are responsible for the railway. So if you were to come back next year with something to say, you get this, and actually we've given 70 grand matched by LCC who are going to match it, Network Rail will look at the feasibility study which we think we can get for 70 grand, and remember how much consultants cost from previous reports, and there's nobody within this council or LCC who can produce this feasibility study. If you come back with that next year, or actually before the budget is set, I think we should look at it as a council. But in terms of committing £35,000 to this, it's a nonsense.
Oh, sorry. Councillor Beavers.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to speak in favour of the amendment, but I can't open the iPad, so I don't know what I'm going to say. Thank you. Right.
You need
Now,
you need to know
can we
good
be
printer.
nice, please, in the Conservative corner tonight, instead of throwing accusations all over the chamber? Right. I am proud of the town that I live in and the people who live in my town, but my town is dying. One of the reasons for this is the lack of investment into the transport links. Fleetwood needs this feasibility study. Fleetwood needs connectivity. We have one road in and one road out for a town that holds approximately 28,000 people. When Beeching took away our train line, it was the start of the decline of a once prosperous town. Our young people cannot access work or education easily because our transport links just don't work. The one and only road in and out is gridlocked every morning and every evening, as the population of Fleetwood and Cllr and Thornton commute out of Wyre to work. Public transport doesn't work if you live in Fleetwood. Preston is a 2-hour bus journey away, or a tram, or a bus, and then a train ride away. Lancaster on public transport is far too complicated to even try to explain. It's been publicly said that we don't need a train line in Fleetwood because we can get the tram from Fleetwood straight to Blackpool North Station when the tram connection is completed. Well, I disagree. It takes 40 minutes to get to North Pier from Fleetwood on the tram. But a direct link from Fleetwood to Polton train line by train or light rail will get you to Polton in approximately 15 minutes or less. Without investment into Fleetwood's connectivity, Fleetwood will continue to spiral into decline. Fleetwood wants its train line back, and it needs serious investment into our transport infrastructure. So today I stand in this chamber asking for a little investment from this council so that Fleetwood, Thornton and Cleveland can have the transport feasibility study it needs to help the coastal strip of Wyre evidence and campaign for better transport investment and connectivity into and out of Fleetwood, Cleveland and Thornton. I ask this council to support this amendment.
Thank you, Councillor Beaver. The second, Councillor Anderton, you didn't reserve the right to speak, so does Councillor Vincent, would you like to second the original?
I would like to. I have to say that whilst I appreciate the fact that Councillor Fale may well believe that this was his last opportunity to parade his socialist credentials to us, it's hard to understand what his rant's got to do with the way that Wyre runs its council. What he omitted to mention in his speech and his general rant was, of course, that both Britain's and Lancashire's finances were destroyed by the Labour Party, not by the Conservatives. Our job, as usual, is to put right the nest that they leave us in. And we in Wyre and in Lancashire have been trying to do that for a considerable period of time. It's interesting to note, I knew you wouldn't like this one. It's interesting to note that the percentage of what the Wyre taxpayer will pay in this budget of the whole is 11%, and it only ever once reached 13%. When do you think that might have been? Who do you think might have been running this borough when it was 13%? Or it was them? They make the mess, we clean it up. It's the way it's always been, and unfortunately it's probably the way it's always going to be. Although, given the fact that the party is disintegrating, they may not get the chance to do it in future. We had a similar proposal to this at Lancashire County Council, but they were asking for 50,000 at Lancashire County Council. It's a cut price offer tonight. It's gone down to 35,000. The fact is they have no idea what it will cost. So what you're being asked to do is to write a cheque for something that they don't know what it's going to be and they don't know what it's going to cost, but it's a good thing to showboat with to the people in Fleetwood. The fact is we need to look at both rail and light rail as a possible solution to the connectivity problems that we have. Our light rail is an option that we should be considering. We haven't before, but I know for a fact that Blackpool Borough are interested in doing it because they've said that to me. I also know that we should be interested in doing it. So rather than committing fully to a concept of let's definitely do it by rail when it's probably not likely that the rail would ever come, what we should be doing is looking at both options and putting possibly some money into both those options to do a study. So I'm not against doing a study, I'm against the way that this is being presented, as if it's definitely 30,000, we've had a look at it and that's what it will cost, because there's no idea what it will cost. There's no idea what we will be committing to, and Lancs County and other institutions would have to commit to something as well, but they would have to present a proper plan to Lancs County in the same way as we're asking them to do it here. So it's not an idea that we should dismiss, it's just the pathetic way in which they've done it that we should dismiss. We should look at it in the next 12 months, but we should also look at light rail as an option in the next 12 months too, because we shouldn't close our minds to what will benefit our residents. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor Vincent. Councillor Fale, would you please respond to the debate on your amendment? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to clear up one or two points that were passed back to me there. Although funding for this feasibility is not in the budget proposals, discussions on this matter have been had with the Finance Officer over the last couple of months or so. And for those who still believe this should be left to LCC as the Transport Authority, let me also refer you to the business plan you have just passed, which reads, work with transport authorities to improve the transport infrastructure and connectivity across the Fylde coast. This isn't a no-strings-attached spend, in much the same way as the set-aside £1 million property investment fund will require a business case for a specific property purchase. It is also fully acknowledged that there is a need for a scope statement and business case to justify the spend. The money will be set aside, not spent. It does have strings attached. Conservative MP Paul Maynard is now seemingly backing the reinstatement. I'm not sure why he's doing this now, as it's been widely known that Wyre is a massive, efficient transport system for a long time. And to be fair, he did absolutely zilch whilst in the role of Minister for Light Rail. Anyway, if he can support Labour's push for the reinstatement, then there should be hope that local councillors here can do the right thing for residents who are sick and tired of sitting in traffic jams and having no prospect of work here in Wyre. Let's make a start to getting the current transport chaos sorted out by setting aside this money for a feasibility study into all options. There is no need to preempt that study by having a rigid individual view of what is required. There is heavy rail, light rail, and heritage to consider, and we should not be discounting anything. This is about taking control of the borough's fundamental problems and tackling them head on. The council cannot afford to sit back and watch the increasing commute and congestion problem. Please support this amendment, and please could I request a recorded vote. Thank you.
Thank you,
Is it
Councillor.
automatic?
Councillor Henderson, would you please respond now to the comments made during the debate?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think that Councillor Alan Vincent responded quite well. I've just made a couple of notes here while Councillor Bale was speaking. The first note I've made is this is Wyre's budget. It's not the government or LCC. That's why you're here tonight, although the majority of Councillor Bale's presentation speech was about the woes of the country. Well, the woes of the country are the woes of the country. Wyre continues to move forward. And at one point I thought that Councillor Fair was making an election speech, to be perfectly honest. So I don't know if Rob was thinking about LCC or even parliamentary. But other than that, Madam Mayor, no, I have no other comments to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. We will now move to the vote. Would you please vote first on the amendment proposed by Councillor Fail? Those in favour of the amendment?
Sorry, Madam Mayor, we've been asked for a recorded vote, but actually we have to have a recorded vote on the budget or any amendments. So I'll read out your name first of all in respect of the amendment. Is that clear? So you're voting for the amendment as proposed by Councillor Fail. So when I read your name out, can you please indicate whether you are for, against or abstaining? Councillor Ian Amos.
Against.
Councillor Rita Amos.
Against.
Emma Anderton.
For.
Marge Anderton.
For.
Lady Atkins.
Against.
Councillor Ballard.
He has to leave.
Oh, you have to leave?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I did tell Roy.
Sorry, thank you. Councillor Barraclough. For. Councillor Beavers.
For.
Councillor Berry.
Against.
Councillor Barry Birch.
Against.
Councillor Colette Birch.
Against.
Councillor Bowen.
Against.
Councillor Bridge.
Against.
Councillor Cartridge.
Against.
Councillor Cattrall.
Against.
Councillor Collinson.
Against.
Councillor Ellison.
Against.
Councillor Fail.
For.
Councillor Gibson.
For.
Councillor Greenoff.
Against.
Councillor Henderson.
Against.
Councillor Hodgkinson.
Against.
Councillor Holden.
Against.
Councillor Edison.
Against.
Councillor Ingham.
Against.
Councillor Kay.
Against.
Councillor Moon.
Against.
Councillor Murphy. Oh, Councillor Murphy's not here, but his apologies have not been given. Councillor Orme.
Against.
Councillor Ormerod. Sorry. Councillor Pimbley's also given apologies, isn't she? Councillor Rayner. Councillor Robinson.
Against.
Councillor Smith. Councillor Anne Turner.
Against.
Councillor Sean Turner.
Against.
Councillor Alan Vincent.
Against.
Councillor Matthew Vincent.
Against.
Councillor Michael Vincent.
Against.
Councillor Walmsley.
Against.
Must be close.
That amendment is lost. We now need to take a vote on the recommendations proposed by the leader of the council as set out in paragraphs 3.1 to 3.4 inclusive on pages 23 and 24 of the council book. The Local Authority Standing Orders, England Amendment Regulations 2014 require that a recorded vote be taken on the budget and council tax decision. Mr. Perry, would you please read out the members' names for a recorded vote?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So you're voting for the recommendations as in the report? Councillor Briggs, you did that without moving your lips. And members, the members ready, so you're clearly voting for the recommendations in the report. Councillor Ian Amos. For. Councillor Rita Amos.
For.
Councillor Emma Anderton.
Against.
Councillor Marge Anderton. Abstain, okay. Councillor Lady Atkins.
For.
Councillor Palmer's gone. Councillor Barraclough.
Against.
Councillor Beavers.
Against.
Councillor Berry.
For.
Councillor Barry Birch.
For.
Councillor Colette Birch.
For.
Councillor Bowen.
For.
Councillor Bridge.
For.
Councillor Cartridge.
For.
Councillor Catterall.
For.
Councillor Collinson.
For.
Councillor Ellison.
For.
Councillor Fayle.
Against.
Councillor Gibson.
Against.
Councillor Greenough.
For.
Councillor Henderson.
For.
Councillor Hodgkinson.
For.
Councillor Holden.
For.
Councillor Ibbison.
For.
Councillor Ingham.
For.
Councillor Kay.
For.
Councillor Moon.
For.
Councillor Orme.
For.
Councillor Robinson.
For.
Councillor Smith.
Against.
Councillor Anne Turner.
For.
Councillor Sean Turner.
For.
Councillor Alan Vincent.
For.
Councillor Matthew Vincent.
For.
Councillor Michael Vincent.
For.
Councillor Walmsley.
For.
The recommendations are approved. That concludes the budget debate. The next item is notices of motion. There are no notices of motion this evening, so that concludes the meeting. Thank you for attending.